He's got room now. It's Leo Messi. 1-1. Ronaldo turns to dribble. Brilliant footwork. Amazing goal for Cristiano Ronaldo. Balotelli. Aguero.
Hello and welcome to the Sport Freaks podcast. And on today's episode, we'll be focusing our attention on the January transfer window. As you know, it's the winter transfer window. Many clubs are looking for the people that they want, maybe some 2 or 3 guys that they can bolster their squad with. So, and for today's show, it will be run with me, Daniel Majani,
and me, Kelvin Mwangi.
So, a lot of stories have been going around regarding who is making which move to which club. A lot of clubs look to be more needful than the others because some clubs like, let's say Liverpool, they almost look perfect. So you get to wonder, maybe they won't be in for a player or two, but they actually surprised us because they were the first club to make a signing in England in the winter transfer season. So there's a lot of movements, there are a lot of ins, a lot of outs, in not just England but all across Europe. So for today's show, we'll be focusing much on the major speculations that are going around and the major deals that have already been done. So as we start the show, we'll be first of all naming the players who have already been able to complete their deals, and we first have to start by Erling Braut Haaland, who we talked about on our previous show, although we talked about him going to the wrong club because as a Manchester United fan, I was hoping maybe we could make a move on him, but it seems we couldn't. But he has managed to cut a deal for himself to Borussia Dortmund. Do you think that he will be a hit in the Bundesliga?
I really hope all the best for Haaland. He's a talented kid and he has all the qualities needed to be a center forward in the Bundesliga, because we know BVB have a very good attacking front three with Sancho, Brandt and Marco Reus, but they lack a real center forward. So Haaland will be a good addition to them, with crosses being whipped from every other wing and having cutbacks from the wing with the likes of Sancho and Marco Reus on the wing also, and also having Brandt as the number 10. I think it could work with Haaland.
Yeah, that's true, especially keeping in mind that he was playing his football in the Austrian league, who I tend to call them the Bundesliga brothers because they have a very good relationship with Bundesliga, and their method of playing might be almost the same, if not similar. So Dortmund maybe came up with a better deal, just not how much he's getting as a player regarding his salary, but a deal in the essence that he'll be able to get a lot of playing time, because as we know, a lot of clubs really wanted him. Manchester United, Juventus, if the rumors were anything to go by. But you find like in clubs like Juventus, where they have outstanding strikers in the form of Cristiano Ronaldo and Gonzalo Higuain, so maybe if he went there, he'd get all the money he wants, but he couldn't get game time. And I feel like for a young player like Haaland, it's very essential for him to get a club that he'll just go there, put his head down and play his football. So Dortmund have a very good striker in Paco Alcácer, but at the moment he has had a lot of injury issues. So Haaland coming in, he might be able to help Dortmund in their course of maybe trying to lift the Bundesliga this season, because as you know, the league is very open this time round, and maybe Haaland can surprise us at the end of the season. But I think one of the major reasons that made him take that move is because Dortmund are still in the Champions League. And Haaland is only 2 goals shy or a goal shy from Lewandowski in the Champions League scoring sheet. So I also think that played a very major role for him to choose Dortmund over the other clubs. So another guy that was able to complete his transfer is Takumi Minamino, who also happens to be from the same team, which is Red Bull Salzburg, that plays their football in the Austrian Premier League. So we were able to see his debut. I don't know if you watched the match, but he started against Everton in the Merseyside derby.
Yeah, I watched that, and he was playing like another Firmino. Yeah.
So basically, is he more of a forward player, or is he an attacking midfielder that will be able to link that midfield with that attack, or will he be used from the wings? Because Liverpool also have very good wingers in Mane and Salah, and they also have a backup in Shaqiri. So where do you think Minamino will be used in this Liverpool squad?
We never know about Klopp. He always surprises us. It's hard to have Mane or Salah on the bench. To me, that sounds a little bit unrealistic. So I don't think he could be featuring in either of the wings unless Klopp decides to maybe drift in one of his wingers to make like a 4-4-2, where they'll be having 2 strikers, either Mane and Firmino, or Salah and Firmino, but so that Takumi Minamino can be added to be a winger, and having on the other wing either Mane or Salah. I don't know if Klopp could do that, but at the moment I feel it's hard for Takumi Minamino to get in that squad. We also have the likes of Chamberlain. He's a good player. He has trouble with his fragility because he's made of glass. He breaks.
Always gets injured.
Yeah, I really feel sorry for him. I know what he can do. Watched him in the Premier League a couple of years to justify my eyes, and I know what really he can do. So I feel Minamino without injuries, it can be good for him, but it all depends on Klopp's formation, because we have Milner and Henderson, Keita and Wijnaldum, but they all are shifted by Klopp, or depending on the opponents. Yeah, so I don't know which games will be suiting Minamino, because we also have Lallana, who's back from injury. He's a really amazing player. Yeah, so that depends on Klopp.
So a host of other clubs are still linked with various players, but very few clubs have actually been able to complete the moves of the people that they were interested in. So we'll start this interesting conversation in North London with the club by the name of Tottenham Hotspur, because they're in mixed emotions at the moment, because a lot of their players are actually running out their contract. Speaking of Jan van Tongen, speaking of Christian Eriksen, and even Danny Rose, who I think has decided to spend one last season with Spurs before heading over. One of the major issues with the club maybe might be their salary, because as you remember, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago when Danny Rose had a problem with the club by speaking out and saying he felt like most of those Spurs stars were not being paid enough, keeping in mind that a lot of other players in other clubs, especially clubs like Manchester United, where we have, if you take someone like Lingard to Tottenham, his wages are way above a lot of their players. So Daniel Levy, keeping in mind the kind of how people know Daniel Levy to be, he might be stingy in one way or another, because he doesn't give out very good and big contracts per se. So Spurs will actually struggle to keep a lot of their players in the club. And now, since it's the month of January, players like Christian Eriksen are now eligible to speak with clubs outside England to strike a deal for them. So Eriksen, a host of Italian clubs are following him, but the one that's catching the eye has to be Inter Milan, because Antonio Conte feels like Eriksen might be the man maybe to bring that spark of creativity in that midfield. Do you feel like Tottenham will have lost it big time? Should Eriksen leave?
Eriksen has been a serviceman for 5 seasons, I think, for Spurs, and he really makes them look like a big club on different occasions. He is a man who rises up to the occasion when you really need him, with either free kicks, what an assists, or some stunning skills, and how he dictates the game at the number 10 position. But being at Tottenham, he's been there at his prime, and maybe he feels like he really needs to move on and see other challenges. When he was at Ajax, they were performing very well, and he took a bold step to go to Spurs. Now that he's done what he can do at his prime, I think it's time for him to move to another different challenge. And going to Inter Milan, again, is an opportunity for him to unleash his creativity, because there are 2 forwards there, Lukaku and Lauro Martinez, who are really good in converting chances. So having Eriksen as their backup number 10 makes them even more deadly, because he can supply the ball. He has the creativity in the top third. Yeah.
And Tottenham have really surprised me this season, because they had a very good summer transfer period when they signed Giovanni Lo Celso, Tanga Ndombele. What might be their problem? Because that midfield was meant to be a very solid midfield, and no one could actually tell you that Mauricio Pochettino will be sacked in the middle of the season, keeping in mind that they were UEFA Champions League finalists in the previous season. So is Tottenham's problem... Okay, let me rephrase this question. What do you think, which kind of player should Tottenham be looking for in this January transfer window, so that they can sort out their problems?
I think Tottenham Hotspurs, to me, needs a good defensive midfield player, because Tanguy Dembele is a good number 8. He's not more defensive like the likes of Harry Winks and Wanyama. But
should Wanyama be given a chance again? Do you think so? Or his time is up at the club?
I think, to me, Wanyama's time is up in that club. That club needs younger players who can link the play to Harry Kane. But when we look at Tottenham, they really lack that starman at the middle of the park. Like Liverpool has Fabinho there, who's really a rock and links the defense and the midfield. But when we look at Spurs, you have the likes of Sissoko, who looks bulky, and his energy is nothing to talk about. He has humongous amounts of energy. So I feel Sissoko should have been a good defensive midfielder, but he's all over, so you can't expect him to play defense. He's mostly in the offensive positions, and so Tottenham lack that defensive midfielder, since they lost Musa Dembele, who was really a rock in the middle of their team. But now, when we look at Ndombele, he can make a very good center midfielder or eventually a creative defensive
or
midfielder.
a box-to-box
Yeah, or a box-to-box midfielder. But again, he's fragile. Like Chamberlain, he just breaks. Anyway, I feel sorry for him.
I actually feel like Mourinho is asking a lot from Tanga Ndombele because it's not very easy to blend in or gel into English football, keeping in mind you have come from the French league. English football is very fast. So Tanga Ndombele, I feel like he has not been given enough time to come in slowly to gel into the team. And I really like how Jurgen Klopp treated Fabinho. Because when Fabinho joined Liverpool, a lot of fans were even complaining, we signed this guy, we are still conceding goals. Why is he not starting for our club? But I really like how Klopp handled that situation because Fabinho was being slowly molded and brought into the team slowly by slowly. And by the time he really gelled with the rest of the team, he was so good that you couldn't even realize that he came from the French league, which I tend to believe is much more slower. So for Tanga Ndombele, I can't say that he's as fragile as we think, but I can call it as people are asking a lot from him too soon. Maybe he'd be given some time because he started in the first game of the season as a starter, not even as a sub. And he's a new signing coming from a different league. So if he was maybe given some little time to come in from the bench, slowly to gel into the team, maybe he'd be offering something much more different. And that also applies to Giovanni Lo Celso. Because Lo Celso, before he came to Spurs, he was one of the best midfielders in Europe. And he was already even a starter in his national team playing for Argentina. So Lo Celso is being handled well because he's not been thrown into the deep end at the moment. He makes those small minutes and adding up slowly. And maybe by the end of the season, we can see another Lo Celso who has become better and has blended in well with the team. But as you have said earlier, Tottenham should get a defender as soon as possible because actually one of my surprises of the season has to be Davinson Sanchez. I'm actually shocked. I don't know what happened to that guy. That guy was a beast of a defender just 2 seasons ago when he made that move from Ajax. But as time has been going, he has been dwindling and his football has not been the best. I think his confidence is so low. Now Tottenham have conceded in their last 7 games. They have never kept a clean sheet. They've been conceding goals every game. So it's high time for Mourinho. Maybe I hope he's scouted a person or two. But then again, Manchester United fans are actually very surprised because when Mourinho was Manchester United manager, he really wanted to sign Alderweireld and Van Tongen. But now he has gone to Tottenham. He has both of these guys that he really wanted to sign, but nothing has changed. So do you think maybe it's because these two defenders are aging? Because age is not also on their side, but Alderweireld has decided to add his contract. Yet Van Tongen, it seems maybe he has decided that his time is out at the club.
I think they're both past their bests.
Mm-hmm.
They've been in that club for a couple of years, and I feel like right now there's always time to move on because you can see the likes of David Luiz leaving Chelsea. He knew he had no place there with guys like Tomori and the likes of Rudiger, and maybe Zuma a little bit has shown some consistency some games, but in others he makes big errors. But David Luiz also makes big errors, so I feel like he knew his time was not on his side and he was past his best at Chelsea. So the same way with Vertonghen and Alderweireld.
So moving swiftly to another North London club by the name of Arsenal Football Club. they have a new manager. They seem like the spirits are high once again at the club. People are more, let's say, jovial, especially after that Manchester United victory at the Emirates. It was a long time coming, and they are not, I can say, they are very vocal in these transfer rumors going around in January, because as everybody knows, there's a lot of loopholes in that club that needs to be sealed. But one that has caught my eye, I don't know if you've seen it, has to be Jerome Boateng. A lot of tabloids in Europe are reporting that Arsenal have made contact with Bayern Munich, either to get him on a loan deal or a permanent deal. Do you think that Jerome Boateng can be able to add something to that leaky defense of Arsenal?
I mean, who wouldn't want a defender as an Arsenal fan? We've been suffering. It's a virus at the back there. There's something really that doesn't add up. For the past 15 years, our defense has been leaking goals. So I want this time to try and improve the defense more than any other position.
But how old is that guy? That guy is very old. Will he be able to help you? Especially keeping in mind how fast the Premier League is.
The Premier League might be faster, but there's one thing we've been suffering for all the other seasons. It's more of the height. We really don't have big centre backs, or more of the physicality. We really don't have a leader in defense. There are always players who are okay, that's what we have, but that's not what we really need or we should be having. Because Mustafi, shouldn't be having Mustafi for me. The likes of Papa, Socrates, the likes of David Luiz, think.
So you're basically saying your whole defense line needs to go.
Yeah. So having Jerome Boateng coming to improve the physicality side, because we've been whipping. Pepe can really whip those corners, but there's no centre back to head the ball. I think physically we are physically challenged at the back there. So having a big centre forward who can contain strikers like Tammy Abraham, who just did nasty to Mustafi just the other day. I really feel having Boateng at the back and him as a leader with all the experience he has, and let me not say he's past his best, though he's almost past his best, just that he had some injuries in the Bundesliga and lost his place in the Bayern Munich side. But I think if he's given a chance in North London, he could really improve and work it out.
So another person that has really caught the eye of a lot of people at Arsenal Football Club is your former captain, the man by the name of Granit Xhaka.
Yeah.
He's a very controversial guy, especially after that substitute drama under your former manager Unai Emery. So Xhaka, around 2 weeks ago, there were a lot of speculation that he was leaving Arsenal to join a Bundesliga side. I think it's Hertha Berlin, although
it's Hertha Berlin.
I'm not very sure. So how's that transfer going? Will he still be an Arsenal player next month, or will he complete that move to Bundesliga? And if he does, do you feel like Arsenal will be comfortable, because currently you don't have numbers in that midfield, and I haven't seen any speculation linking Arsenal to any other midfielder. So should Xhaka leave and Arsenal fail to get a replacement to help you with the remainder of the season, will you lack something, or you just want him gone?
To me, I have mixed reactions regarding Xhaka. To me, he's one player who has the poorest decision making in the Premier League. He makes very risky tackles, doesn't care, and sometimes he plays out of emotion. But on the other side, I know he really has passion to be a gunner, and he also has the leadership skills. Like he can command the team. So when I look at his leadership skills, I think he's a good midfielder. But when I look at his errors, because he's very prone to errors, I think it's time for him to leave. Though Arteta really trusts in him at the moment and has had him in the midfield for the last 3 games, and he said he's really impressed by Xhaka because of the attitude and the passion. But let's see what we have in other transfers, because I don't think Arsenal is being linked to any center midfielder, and having Guendouzi and Torreira is cool, but again Guendouzi is not there yet, and so having the experience with Xhaka, if only Arteta learned to tell him to make the right choice at the right moment, then we can have a good midfielder. Though 2 months ago, no one could convince me Xhaka could be staying.
It seemed like he was just done at Arsenal.
I mean, even 3 weeks ago, before Arteta came in and started giving games, because I hate his attitude, and you can't just show the fans your attitude and expect us to watch you and be happy for all the silly things you do in the field, like your judgment. You don't care even about the fans.
But don't forget that Xhaka has also worked under 4 managers at Arsenal, with none of them selling him. So that means maybe they also see something in him that a lot of Arsenal fans don't usually get to see a lot of times. But as I told you earlier, I don't think that Xhaka is such a bad player. Maybe he's a victim of circumstances, because I watch him play a lot of times when he plays for Switzerland, and whenever he dons that country's jersey, he always does his best. But let's see what will be held for him once he gets to complete that move in Bundesliga, because as per my last research, I saw that they were in advanced talks with Hertha Berlin. So another name that has been linked to Arsenal over 2 weeks or so has to be Hakim Ziyech, one of the most brilliant passers and brilliant playmakers in Europe at the moment. I saw his stats somewhere before we started the show, and it says that in the last 97 games, he has scored, I think, 38 goals and has had 47 assists in 97 games. That's a very good return. Do you think that he will solve? I don't even think he's coming to solve any problem, because going forward Arsenal are very good. But will his coming in at Arsenal means that Ozil will be shown the door, or both of them will be at the club? How do you see it?
I wouldn't say no to Hakim Ziyech, because we have the likes of Emil Smith-Rowe and Reiss Nelson, and also sometimes Bukayo Saka playing in our offensive third when we have injuries, and that's very risky. Right now, when you look at a club like Man City, they have Bernardo Silva, Sterling, Sane, and also Mahrez on the wings. Those are 4 very brilliant players on their day. But
I doubt Ziyech will actually leave Ajax to come to Arsenal, not to be a starter. He must be a starter. You can't tell me that he can just decide to leave Ajax, keeping in mind the kind of brilliance that he has. And he's not very young also. I think he's 26, going to 27, or just turned 26. So at this moment of his career, he must be also really looking for playing time. Do you think that Arteta maybe can give him the assurances that he will be able to play a lot more time than what you are thinking?
If that happens, I think it's more of a change in formation because Ozil, everyone believes Ozil with better players around him is good every other game, but ZH also, he's at his prime. No one can ignore that. He can score a free kick, he can pass really long from wing to wing, and that's every coach's dream, where you can have a playmaker who can change the direction of the ball like wing to wing. And so having his passes, which are so dangerous, his free kicks, all his set piece kicks, I think right now Arsenal lack a set piece taker, even if Nicolas Pepe scored some two brilliant football free kicks, and people said he's the black Messi. That's silly of them. You can't compare Pepe to Messi on any other day. So I feel having ZH on our side could be good, but I really question Arsenal's transfer policy every other time. Because when I look at players, most of players like Leicester City, they buy what they need, not what's available. So if they really don't need you, no matter how good the transfer is and the player is available, how available he is, they don't just go for that player. But Arsenal will just go for ZH because he's available. If that transfer happens, it's not a bad transfer to me, but I feel like that's not what we really need at the moment. Though I really believe he can change. He'll absolutely change something in our attack. Having the likes of Emil Smith-Rowe without that experience and confidence. Bukayo Saka. We have Willock who plays some games, but he's not ripe enough to be playing in the Premier League. Maybe he should be sent on loan for a season. That's on my opinion. So I feel ZH can add something.
And speaking of need and needs and what people need, Manchester United absolutely needs each and everything in this January transfer window. From a Manchester United fan's perspective, I can say we need a central midfielder, we need a defensive midfielder, we need a striker, we need just absolutely every position needs to be covered at the club. And we also need a manager, I might say, although a lot of people won't agree with me, because the issue of Ole in and Ole out is a very big story at the club at the moment, because a lot of players and fans feel like Ole is the right man to take Manchester United forward, while a lot of people on the other hand feel like United need to change a manager. So in this transfer window, United have been linked with a host of names coming from the likes of Grealish, the likes of James Maddison, just any other person that just needs. I also saw that United also wants to, they have asked for the availability of Adrien Rabiot from Juventus. Do you feel like any of these signings can actually be done during this season, or should any of it be done? What do you think Manchester United really needs to get to maybe keep them afloat? Because at the moment as we speak, it's more about salvaging their season than actually winning anything.
To me, I think what Manchester United is lacking is really number 10, because Mata is not playing most of the games and Lingard doesn't have any creativity in him.
He just completed one full year, one calendar year without a goal or an assist.
Wow.
And that's our number 10.
Yeah, so I really mean you guys should have a number 10, but the number 10s that you guys are linked with, it's unrealistic
at the moment.
Yeah, because we look at the likes of Grealish, Grealish is a fan favorite. I myself is a Grealish fan, and I look at his position at the club. He's the club captain, been a captain for 5 or so years, and he has that connection with the Villa fans. So Aston Villa can't just let Grealish live, and I think himself he really wants to make a name, like make Grealish a big name. So I think it's not the right time for him. I think for him he'll think this is not the right time for me to go to Manchester, especially right now when Manchester United is a ship that has hit a rock.
We are still better than Arsenal, though.
And also looking at James Maddison, who you are linked with Leicester challenging for the Premier League, maybe not really challenging.
Leicester
but
not challenging for anything. Maybe the Carabao Cup.
Okay, but remember they are second in the Premier League, having a very fantastic year.
13 points behind.
Yeah, and that's not behind Man United. That's just behind the league leaders. But they really stepped up in the Premier League, and they're working out very well. And so I think Maddison, on his first brilliant season, I think he wouldn't want to move from Leicester to join Man United and become a failure. We've seen several big names like Di Maria, and I feel it's hard for Maddison to come the other way. But Rabiot said he wants to stay at Juventus and finish the season there because he thinks he still can be a household name in Juventus. He has the confidence that he said 2019 was a very good year to him, and he hopes 2020 will be the best year for him and he can show the team what he got. Yeah, so I don't think you'll be getting any of those. Those are just speculations.
Yes, I have to agree with you on that. Keeping in mind the kind of lame excuses that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer likes giving Manchester United fans. And I call them lame because he always speaks about getting the right players at the right price, or getting the players with the right age to fit into what he wants to build at Manchester United. And I feel like those are just mere excuses that they actually make me start imagining if maybe Manchester United are broke, because the Manchester United I know and the Manchester United that I started supporting way back couldn't have these kinds of problem whenever they were interested in any kind of player. Should it be January, it didn't matter which club the player played for. As long as it was Manchester United wanting that player, we will just go there and get that player to our club. Although I feel like your point is very true, the kind of names that Manchester United are linked with, those transfers just can't happen at the moment, because for someone like Maddison, Leicester feel like they have a lifeline in this title race, so it won't be possible for them to let their best players in that squad leave. Although I feel like from my point of view, where I see this whole thing going, I feel like Manchester United is not targeting the right people, because as much as we are looking for a number 10, the only person that I would want Manchester United to get from Leicester has to be Wilfred Ndidi, because I feel there are a lot of number 10s in Europe, not necessarily England, but we have someone like Bruno Fernandes, who we were linked with over the summer. He's a very good number 10, and for someone like Maddison, because he's English and he plays in the English Premier League, I am 100% sure Leicester will ask more than 70 million to get his sign to get that signing done.
An Englishman is very expensive in English.
Yeah. yet at the same time we can go for maybe someone like Bruno Fernandes and we can get him from Sporting for around 50 million, which is a good deal, and then we can go back to Leicester and get Wilfred Ndidi to Manchester United, because Manchester United is still leaking goals despite getting Harry Maguire, who happens to be the most expensive defender in the world. So that really brings into the picture that maybe the problem wasn't the defense, but the problem is we lack someone to screen that defense. We lack someone to protect that back four from leaking goals, and that someone has to be a defensive midfielder. And that brings me up to another good name from a guy who plays in the French league for Lille, Boubacar Soumare. Such a talented defensive midfielder.
Yeah, very talented.
Yes, but as I told you earlier, as a Manchester United fan, I think Ole Gunnar has a lot of excuses, which I feel the excuses are best to protect the owners of the club. So at the end of it all, after discussing all this, I can tell you for sure that Manchester United will not sign anyone in January. Let's just wait for the season to end, and maybe even then we can still just sign one or two players. That's how bad we are.
Yeah, you've been also linked with Emre Can. Emre Can wants to leave Juventus because of the playing time. In Juve, there's no room for him. We have the likes of Khedira, Bentancur, Bernardeschi. Yeah, and Rabiot also, though Rabiot saying he'll fight for his position, again puts Emre Can into risk. He's not been getting too many games after leaving Liverpool, so I think it's the right time to move on. But I don't know whether Manchester United, that's what you really need, or that's what's available.
Sadly for me, I neither want Rabiot or Emre Can, simply because those two guys are rejects. They haven't even played football for the longest time, because most of the time they're on the bench or maybe nursing some sort of injury. So should Emre Can and Rabiot be available, I think Manchester United should just pass them and look for another player to fit in that midfield, or just upgrade someone. So as we conclude this talk, we have to speak about the champions, who, as we know, they have had a pretty awful season, simply because one of their best players last season in Aymeric Laporte was injured, and they had to play half the season with Fernandinho as a backup centre back. As much as he tried, he didn't offer the best cover for Ederson. So that makes them linked to Ake. How do you rate Ake, and how do you feel like if he manages to get a deal to Manchester City, how will he improve that City side?
To me, I wondered why Guardiola could let Vincent Kompany go. He was such a brilliant defender. He would have stayed at least in the team as a backup defender, maybe when they lose a centre back, because Kompany, we all know his defensive qualities and how ruthless he was and merciless at the back. But all that said and done, he's now in Anderlecht, who is the coach player. So let's talk about what they really have right now. They have very few options, because Otamendi is not consistent. I think he's past his best. We also have Laporte, who's been injured more than the time he's played. And then that makes a big gap in defense, because they don't really have powerful centre backs like the likes of Laporte and maybe Otamendi on his day. But having Emmanuel Ake at the back, that makes them fierce, because he's a young Van Dijk to me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I was actually about to say the same thing. Should Ake join City, it will be a very good move for him, because he's not a slasher, as I tend to call them, like the kind of defenders like Bai, who just shoot the ball here and there. Ake is a very good ball-playing centre-back. He's also very good in the air. He scores a lot of goals.
And defends a lot.
Yeah. And there's a very smart defender. So for Pep Guardiola's style of play, I think Ake can be a very good success at Manchester City. So as we conclude with another club that wears blue, Chelsea. Chelsea, as much as I really know about them, they are actually very lucky that their ban was lifted. So that means that they can be able to conduct some business in this transfer season. So what are the names?
It was so bad for them. And right now they've been linked to players like Gabigol, who they say really needs to come and bolster the attack because they have Giroud who's leaving. Aston Villa want Giroud, and so they think they have few options because Tammy Abraham needs someone to supplement him when he's injured or as a second striker, and Gabigol playing a different system of play in the Brazilian league is not the same type of striker like Tammy Abraham. So it will be so good for them to have that link-up play. One is a ball holding forward, and the other one is a very tricky fast forward. So I think that will be a good addition to the squad to me. But mostly, if I were a Chelsea manager, I would buy the most lethal wingers, because Chelsea are suffering with the likes of Odoi and the likes of Willian. They are not really living up to what they should.
Okay, there I have to disagree with you. I think Chelsea have very good wingers. What Chelsea really need is a good number 10, because Chelsea haven't had a number 10 for like 6 seasons, ever since Mata left Chelsea for Manchester United. So they've been centering their game around their wingers. First of all, I have to say Chelsea have a very good midfield. Their midfield options are excellent in Kovacic, Jorginho, N'Golo Kante, Ross Barkley. So that's covered. So in wingers, they have Callum Hudson-Odoi, they have Pedro, they have Willian, and they have Pulisic.
They are all inconsistent.
Exactly, but okay, not as such. But the good thing is that as much as they're inconsistent, the manager has a choice of, if this guy is misfiring, he can put in another player. So I'd actually love it if Ziyech joined Chelsea instead of Arsenal, because Chelsea have a very good squad, but I can't really say they have a player that is able to link the midfield with the attack. So should Frank Lampard be able to get a number 10 during this January transfer window, then Chelsea can be a very lethal squad going forward, because for the likes of Tammy Abraham, he always depends on crosses from the wings. But if you look at most of his goals, you can't see a goal that he has been given a through pass from the middle. And that's been Chelsea's problem for the longest time. So for me, I feel like Chelsea will be very good for them if they'd be able to get a 10 to add in that squad.
They have a 10 in Mason Mount. He's an exciting kid to me, but again comes inconsistency. So, like you said, they really need a number 10.
Yeah. Mason Mount is a very good player, but he's also very young as well. So sometimes giving those young guys or the mantle to do all that stuff, it can be overwhelming. That's why I don't really get into details when discussing Callum Hudson-Odoi, because we have also seen quite a lot of times what that kid is able to do, like what he did in the FA Cup the other weekend. He was magnificent in that game. So it's just giving those kids time for them to grow. And so for Chelsea to get a little bit of pressure from those kids, the best thing they can do is get a very good number 10 so that they can supplement the goals. I can give you an example of Inter Milan, whereby Lukaku is forming a very formidable relationship with Lautaro Martinez.
Yeah.
So if you look at Lautaro Martinez, he's a number 9 who can plays like Firmino, whereby because Martinez can be able to get the ball from the midfield, run with it, and then supply it to Lukaku or any other winger that will have made the run on the other side of the pitch. So I can really say that's what Chelsea need at the moment.
As we come up to the end of the show and wrap up all the hype in the transfer rumors and speculations, what will you say of the new season? Of the next phase of the second leg, I mean?
Oh, the season has been tiring for me as a Manchester United fan. I actually can't wait for the season just to end, so maybe you can just think about our lives and about where we are going. But for the season, I can say the title is as good as gone. I really hoped Liverpool couldn't take it, but this Liverpool side is very strong. They actually look... So the only thing that I can say is for Arsenal fans, they should really pray hard so that Liverpool can't be able to take that invisible record away from them.
I told you Liverpool all the way to the bank in the last episode when you said this is the Premier League and teams can catch up, but this Liverpool side with 19 games to go for them, since they have a game in hand, I believe they can win 15 of the games. That takes them to 100 points. So feel they're very lethal, but for the unbeaten, that's...
You don't see it.
No one knows. I only say if anything is capable if we did it with not a very good side like they have right now, because we didn't win so many games like they're winning at the moment. But I feel anything can happen. As an Arsenal fan, I want us to be the ones who will break that so that we break it for ourselves.
Yeah.
Like we don't want another team to beat Liverpool on our behalf.
Okay. Yeah. So sadly we come to the end of the show, and we thank you very much for keeping us company throughout the episode as we've discussed various transfer rumors and speculation. I hope maybe you are happy or maybe sad like me, as we've been talking about. Maybe you had the rumor of your club. So we can always keep the conversation going on social media. So you can always follow us on Facebook, on the Sport Freaks podcast, as well as Twitter for the same. So till next time, keep it sporty and keep it the Sport Freaks podcast.
He's got room now. It's Leo Messi. 1-1. Ronaldo turns to dribble.